This video is the second part of a two-part video. If you only want to do the validation part of the tutorial, then you're in the right place. You will need to get the form that was made in part 1 from GitHub. You will find the web address in the description below. There is some validation that comes with HTML and CSS. I will show you that. But there are some problems. You get much better validation if you use JavaScript. So in the end, JavaScript is what I used. So let's get started with the CSS and HTML. You don't necessarily need to code along for this, because after I've shown you what is available in CSS and HTML, I'm going to undo everything and then do it properly with JavaScript. So to start with, I'm going to put in a title. It says between 3 and 28 characters. And what that'll mean is when I mouse over it, a tooltip comes up that says between 3 and 28 characters. Another thing I'm going to do is set min length equal to 3 and max length equal to 28, and also I'm going to make it required. In the styles.css, I'm going to set hash first name, name ID, colon invalid, this is for when it's not filled out, and last name invalid, email invalid, put a comma here, border 1px solid hash ef4444 and color is hash ef4444 and ground color is E2 E2. Yes. See, so now it comes up with red and a pink background. So I'm going to do the same thing, copy that and put it in the last name. Now that one comes up pink with a red border as well. For email, I'm going to put a title, enter a valid email address, and also required. Now that's come up as well. But if I try and type the email, you see, as soon as I do the @ and a word, it comes up. So that's not very good. What we can do is have an email pattern with a regex. I've just got a regex from the internet. So try that. See, so now it only comes up after the dot. So that's much better. And for these, when I do 3 letters, it comes up, and it'll only let me do up to 28 characters for the max. And the same for the last name. After 3 characters, then the red goes away. And so that's what the HTML does. So I'm going to get rid of that now. Well, in fact, I think I'll leave the title for the pattern. So that's the same as it was before, apart from the title. One last thing, I need to get the invalid part out of the styles. I'll delete this now. That's it. So now for the JavaScript form validation. First thing I'm going to do is go to the button at the bottom and make it disabled. We're going to make it disabled until all the form is filled in. And in the styles, below the button and the button blue, I'm going to do .btn : disabled. And then I'm going to give it a background color of a light grey, D5 dB, and set the cursor back to default. Save the index. That's it. So now it's a light grey. So next I'm going to put in some hints which will only show when it's invalid. First name hint for the class, put must be between 3 and 28 characters. Copy that. Put it here. Change it to last name. And here do p dot email hint for the class must be a valid email address. And for the radio, p.radio hint, please select one. Put a checkbox. Checkbox hint, please select at least one. They can select more than one if they want to. Then for the select statement, put it just above this div. p.select hint, please select one. Right, looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but the CSS will sort that out. I'm going to do the CSS for the hints. Hash first name hint dot last name hint comma dot email hint comma dot radio hint comma dot checkbox hint I'm going to set the display of those all to none so they disappear. This needs to be a dot as well because they're CSS classes. Margin 0, font size 1 rem, font weight bold, color hash EF4444. That gives us a red color. Now for the radio hint, checkbox hint and select hint display is going to be block, because we want these to show immediately. Text align is left. Select hint, margin left, 0.6 EM. Forgot the colon. That's it. Forgot the select hint. Dot select hint. On the radio buttons, checkbox buttons and select box, the hint comes up immediately. This is because when we give the focus by clicking on them, we are also making our selection at the same time. On the first name, last name and email inputs, the hint will come up when we give them focus and start to type. If as we type the input is invalid, the hint will show, and only when our input is valid the hint will go away. Right, in the script.js file I'm going to set up some variables, and these are going to represent each part of the form. So has first name equals false. This will start off as false, and as the form's filled in it will go to true. Has last name equals false. And when all parts of the form are true, then the form's validated and the button will show. Has email equals becomes false. Let has radio checked is false. Let has checkbox checked is false. Let is selected equal false. Right. And also I'm going to have to set up some references. Constant first name, document get element by ID, first name, this is so we can attach some event listeners to each of the elements. Constant last name, document get element by ID, last name, constant email, document dot get element by ID, email, constant status L, document dot get element dot query selector rather, get element by ID, status, constant, radio buttons is equals document get element by name, sex, constant, radio, fields equals document, query, selector, dot radio field. Checkboxes document dot query selector code constant checkbox field is document dot query selector checkbox field constant button equals document dot query selector button change this to is selected. So I made a mistake here. It should be get elements by name, and this should be dot checkbox field. That's it. Right, now here I'm going to go first name dot add event listener, and this is going to be for a key up. I want to check each keystroke and check for that it's between 3 and 28 characters long. So go if first name dot value dot length is less than 3, or first name dot value dot length is greater than 28. Then we want to show the hint. What? First name hint dot style dot display Change this display from none to block so it can be seen. And we want to add a class, first name dot class list dot add invalid, and also want to change has first name equal to true. Else document dot query selector dot first name hint dot style dot display is none, because we don't want it to show then. And first name dot class list dot remove dot invalid, and has first name is true. This should be false. Let's try that. There we are, it comes up and goes out after 3 characters. And then if I carry on till it's over 28, it comes back again and goes off when I take it back. That's great. That's what we want. So then, just put this to true, as it should be. Right, now for the last name, it would just be the same thing as this, but we select all of these, copy them down, select all the first names, change them to last name, change this to last name hint, this to last name hint, this to last, so it's has last name, there we go, and after 3 characters it goes off. When I get to 28, comes back again. Lovely. Right, so now we do the email event. Email.add event listener. If now we get the regular expression, I shall leave the regular expression for the email in the description for you to use. So we get that regular expression, then we use the test function with the email value to test it. And if it's true, then we won't want the email hint to display. So we select the email hint using document.querySelector, email hint, and then .style, .display, equals none, so it doesn't show if it's okay. And then for the class list, we'll remove the invalid class because we don't need that because it's okay, and set has email to true. So now we do the else part. So now we need to select the email hint again. But this time we'll be setting it to block because here we've got an error and we want the hint to display. So .email hint, put the dot there, forgot it there, .style, .display, equals block. And we want to add the class list invalid, add the class invalid, and set has email to false. Delete that. This should be equals true. Right, now we'll try that. The email hint comes up, and then we put the valid email in, and it goes away. Brilliant. So now we'll create an event for the radio field. Radio field. Change it up here to field. Right. radio field dot add event listener. Click, create the function. For let radio of radio buttons if radio dot checked is radio checked equals true. Document.query selector .radio hint .style .display equals none, so we don't show the hint. Should be is checked, is radio checked. So that's the radio button, so we'll check that. It's not working. Cannot read properties of null at line 60. So that's the radio field. Check that. That looks alright. Have a look on the index.html. In the radio field, I haven't put the class for radio field. That's it. And the same for the checkbox. Class equals checkbox field. That's better. Try it again. It works. Again. It works, yes. So now we'll do the checkbox. Checkbox field dot add event listener. I'll click. Create the function. If checkbox boxes naught or dot checked or copy this, change this to 1, or paste another copy, change this to 2. So if either 3 of the checkboxes is checked, then set document.query selector checkbox hint dot style dot display equals none. So we don't want the hint. And is checkbox checked equals true. Should be is checkbox checked. Else document.query selector dot checkbox hint dot style dot display equals block, because we want it to show if none of the checkboxes is displayed, is checked. Is checked box checked equals false. Try this. See this? And the message goes away. Take it, remove it, and it comes back. Check them all. Check one. And it comes back, yeah. Fine. That works. Okay, onto the select box then. So, select container dot add event listener create select container here, constant select container equals document dot query selector dot select container. Click, do a function if status L dot value is not equal to choose then set document query selector to dot select hint to .style.display to none, and is selected is false, true. Else copy this, in fact copy both lines and then alter them. Set this to false. False. Set this one to block. Got an error come up in the console. Have a look in the index.html. Here it is. To put select container here. Scripts. Select container needs a dot as well. Try it. Select college. That works. Put it back to choose and you get the hint back again. That's it. So now I'm going to deal with the disabled button. I'm going to create a function to check whether all these are set to true. I'm going to create a function called form field, and I'm going to use the spread operator and args. This is so that if you wanted to put some other arguments, you know, some more input boxes, you could. This will take any number of arguments, and we're going to use for instant arg of args, and then if arg any argument is false, we want to return button disabled to true. We want the button disabled if any of the arguments is false. That is, if any of the input boxes are not filled in correctly. And otherwise, we want to return button.disabled to false. And if it's false, then the button will be enabled. Now I'm going to use another function called function check form field, and this is going to take the form field function and it's going to take has first name, has last name, has email, is radio checked, is checkbox checked, and is selected. That's it. Now, to call the checkbox field, I'm going to create a function, a couple of event listeners on the form. So I'm going to go my form dot add event listener dot click, comma, and check box form, no, check form field, and then copy that down, and this one's going to be a key up. Right, that's it. Now try that. Thread, blogs, Fred at yahoo.com, mail, CSS, HTML. Select one of these, working, and the button is enabled. Login. That's it, and the button is disabled. Just select the other way. Wow. Enabled. Logs still disabled. Thread, and it's enabled, and it works. Great. So in this video we started looking at HTML and CSS to do form validation. We found that it was not really good enough, and then we went on to use JavaScript for our form validation. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please subscribe for more.